So this says that Kapil Dev, no, actually this comes in third canto. Lord Kapil Deva, he instructs his mother. So my dear mother, whose hearts are always filled in service of my lotus feet and who are prepared to do anything for my satisfaction. So that means they're Anala devotees. Anala devotees means they have no other ambition but to serve the Lord. So especially those fortunate devotees assembled together to understand my qualities, pastimes, form, and thus glorify me congregationally and derive transcendental pleasure. They never desire to become one with me. That means they don't want to merge in something impersonal Brahmajyoti. They don't want to go. They don't want any kind of impersonal liberation. So they are simply interested in serving the Lord. And then he says, under opulence like me, mine, and even personal association with me, with similar bodily features, they refuse to accept. So I think I described this. They refuse to accept any kind of liberation of Sarupya, Saristi, Samipya, Salokya, Sayujya, the different types of liberation, five kinds of liberation. Sayujya means merging in impersonal Brahmajyoti. Samipya means living close to the Lord. Sarupya means having same bodily features like Lord, same form. Then Saristi means having same opulences with the Lord. So like that, there are five kinds of opulences. But devotee is not interested in any of them if there is no service to the Lord. Rather, he is happy to be in material world if there is service to the Lord. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 9th chapter, verse 10, King Dhruva says, my dear Lord, the transcendental pleasure derived by meditation upon your lotus feet, enjoyed by the pure devotees, cannot be approached by the transcendental pleasure derived by the impersonalists through self-realization. How the fruitive workers who at most can aspire to promotions heavenly does understand you, and how can they be described as enjoying happiness in the devotee's happiness? So that means even those who are trying to go to, I mean, get into impersonal realization, they even can't understand. They can't enjoy the pure devotional service ecstasy, what devotee experience. So what to speak of those who are fruity worker? Fruity worker means those simply desiring material ambitions in this world. So what to speak of them? Then he says, how much a devotee is seriously attached to devotional services regarding can be understood how this statement of Maharaj Prithu. So how much we are seriously engaged in devotional service? How do we understand? So Prithu Maharaj explaining, if after taking liberation, I have no chance of hearing the glories of the Lordship, he prays to the Lord like this. So if after taking liberation, if I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by your devotees, pure devotees, from the core of their hearts, in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. See, this is the standard of a devotee, that he doesn't want to be liberated if he doesn't have the chance to hear his glories of the Lord. And so for him, the main nectar is by serving the Lord. In those are glory, the chanting the glories of the Lord from the core of their hearts in praise of the Lord's lotus feet. And if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation for this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray unto your Lordship, and you may give me millions of times and millions of years so that I can constantly chant and hear of your transcendental glories. So we have our one tongue and one ear. Then still we are not so much inclined. We think, no, array, how much I can chant. हो गया, the one bound कर लिया बहुत. Somehow I did my one bound. But actually, even Rupa Goswami Pad also plays that. He says that when I'm chanting, I feel I should have millions of mouths and I should have millions of ears, so that I can glorify you, Lord, and I can hear your infinite glories. For example, I'll tell you, let's say your favorite dish is there, right? And there will only very less time is there, this much time will have to finish it. So much dish. That's your favorite thing which you never got for many years. So you may desire, oh, if I have like 10, 15 marks, would have been cut, I have to eat 10 marks. Because it is so relishable, I need 10 tongues. I need 100 tongues, right? So something you relish so nice that you want to have more and more tongue and so this is something very relishable actually for the pure devotees, the holy name and glory, singing the glories of the Lord. It's very relishable. So they desire to have millions of tongues and millions of years. But Rupa Sai Pad also says. So that means there's so much nectar there. Only thing is, why do we don't find nectar? Because we are covered with the layer of ignorance. Like say, for example, in our tongue, if there is one plastic wrapper is put, and you put gulab jamun, you don't find any taste. Same way, when we are also covered by the avidya, when we have disease of avidya, then even if we sometimes chant, we hear the glories, and we don't find so much of taste because still we are in diseased state. But same sugarcane candy, like sugarcane juice example again. Sugarcane juice, when you keep taking, then this disease of avidya will go away. Then you can again start relishing the devotional service like that. So one should go on chanting. One should not, um, give up chanting, reading, hearing. Should continue doing that. Taste will come. Keep doing it dutifully, steadily, with respect. Then eventually taste will come. Kintu adarat anudinam khalu sayavajishto. Kintu adarat. With respect, one should continue. And eventually taste will come. Like, and then he says, let me see if it connects. Anybody else would like to read? From here, you can read. The impersonal desire to merge.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The impersonal desire to merge into the existence of the Supreme, but without keeping their individuality, they have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. Because they have no idea of the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, there is no chance of their chanting and hearing dis- of his transcendental activities. In other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot relish the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord.
Yeah. So here, impersonal is the desire to merge into existence of the Supreme. So their whole purpose of doing with whatever their austerities, meditation, even chanting, sometimes they may do also. But it's all for the purpose of merging the existence of the Lord. But actually, without keeping their individuality, they have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. So suppose when liberated, one thing that I'm getting merged. After that, how can you continue hearing and chanting? For them, hearing and chanting is only to merge. So that means for them, hearing and chanting is not some kind of goal. That only means. But for us, chanting and hearing is goal also. Means also goal also. But hearing and chanting, when we are in disease state, it may not be so relishable. It is, but not so much. Or sometimes it looks very bitter also. But as you hear and chant, and you get purified, the same thing becomes very ecstatic, and that's the goal actually. So we are doing the same activity of chanting, reading, hearing, worshipping, offering devotees. We're doing all that same thing, but eventually we will have relish for it, and that's the goal. So our goal is to attain Krishna prema. Not that after we achieve the perfection, then we have nothing to do. No. When somebody has love, then he will become very active in service of the Lord with much more better quantity and quality. With knowledge and more rounds, with more quality, with more love. But for impersonalists, it's not like that. For them, they have no chance of hearing and chanting praises of God because after you merge, how will you hear and chant? So that means you are somehow doing it so that it's like, when you somehow study the exam, somehow crack these papers, work up and then vomit in the exam, get marks, then throw all that books and everything of previous class. You don't want to see also. So for us, it is not like that. We are wanting to chant so that we can eternally chant and eternally relish. We want to serve so that eternally we can serve. So because they have no idea of the transcendental form of it, there is no chance of the chanting and hearing of his transcendental activities. In other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot release the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. So actually, truly we can understand the transcendental glories and the form of the Lord after we get liberated, meaning once we go beyond this cluster of illusory energy, as our avidya gets over, right, then actually one can truly relish the transcendental glories of the Lord. And that's why in conditional state, we are not able to relish it so much. But because it is so powerful, holy name and all this, so nectar, disease should also get some taste. Next, somebody else can read a similar statement.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I can.
Yeah.
A similar statement is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 14th chapter, verse 44. Sukdev Goswami addressed Parikshit Maharaj there and says, the great soul King Bharata was so much attached to the service of the lotus feet of Krishna that he very easily gave up his lordship over the earthly planet and his affection for his children, society, friends, royal opulence, and beautiful wife. He was so very lucky that the goddess of fortune were pleased to offer him all kinds of material consciousness, but he never
Concessions.
accepted
What are concessions?
concessions. But he never accepted any of these material opulence. Sukdev Goswami praises his behavior of King Bharata very highly. He says any person whose heart is attracted by the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudana, does not care even for that liberation which is aspire to my many great sages who speak of material opulences.
Now, Bharat Maharaj is a very powerful example. He gave up everything. So he was so attached to service of the Lord. That he very easily gave up his lordship. He said, Uttam Shloka Lalasa. And how he gave up? Lost Malvat, just like after passing Shivan, doesn't want to even look at it. Or just, he's so detached with it. Nobody's at, he's just so detached. He just flushes off, cut. So same way, he was so much detached from all his opulences and wife and kids. He had no attachment. So the great soul King Bharata was so much attached to service of the Lord that he very easily gave up lordship over the earthly planet and his affection for his children, society, friend, Raj, beautiful, everyone. He was so very lucky that God of fortune was pleased to offer him all kinds of material concession, but he never accepted any of these material ornaments. So this behavior of King Bharat, he speaks in very high way. Any person whose heart is attracted by the transcendental qualities of Supreme Lord, Madhusudana, does not care even for that liberation which is aspired to by many great sages about this of material opulence. Quoting from different places from Bhagavatam and all this. So nice it is. Turning the same point that devotee does not want any liberation without service. Service to the Lord is most powerful thing. It's the most desired thing. So what to speak of worldly opulences, what to speak of liberation is beyond that. Okay, so we may pause here. Mr. Prashant is also there.
No, Prabhuji.
Very good. Ashish Prabhu, Kaushik is also there. Ashish, Kaushik is also hearing. Ashish is also hearing, also not sure.